U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has touched down in Israel for his 11th visit to the region. He aims to press Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for an end to the war in Gaza and diffuse escalating tensions between Israel and Lebanon's Hezbollah movement. It's his last trip there before a presidential election that could upend U.S. policy, and he faces an uphill battle on both fronts. During his talks with Netanyahu on Tuesday, Blinken spelled out U.S. hopes that the death of Yahya Sinwar, Hamas's leader, will provide a new opportunity for peace. But Netanyahu's office has made no mention of any potential ceasefire yet. For its part, Hamas has refused to free scores of hostages seized on October 7th of last year, without an Israeli pledge to end the war and pull out of the territory. Hours ahead of Blinken's visit, air raid sirens sounded in Tel Aviv, signaling incoming rockets from Lebanon. Hezbollah later claimed responsibility for Tuesday's attack, as well as a drone attack on Netanyahu's holiday home on Saturday, adding that there would be no negotiations while fighting continues.
Russian President Vladimir Putin called Chinese President Xi Jinping his dear friend as he praised the relationship between their countries and welcomed Xi to Russia for the opening of the BRICS summit.
Russian-Chinese cooperation in international affairs is one of the main stabilizing factors on the world stage. We further intend to enhance coordination on all multilateral platforms in order to ensure global security and a just world order.
Xi told Putin that chaos reigned internationally, but that Beijing's strategic partnership with Moscow was a force for stability amid the most significant changes seen in a century.
Over the past decade, Russian-Chinese relations have withstood trials and difficult situations, have come a long way, and have reached an unprecedented level.
In May, the two leaders pledged a new era of partnership between the most powerful rivals of the United States, which they cast as an aggressive nation sowing chaos around the world. Meanwhile, Russia is waging war against Ukrainian forces who have received significant help from the U.S. And China is under pressure from a concerted U.S. effort to counter its growing military and economic strength. U.S. President Joe Biden has referred to Xi as a dictator and has said Putin is a killer and even a crazy SOB. Beijing and Moscow have scolded Biden for the comments. A Kremlin spokesperson said Putin and Xi discussed Ukraine, their partnership, and ways to cooperate in the future.
Whether North Korea is indeed or not supporting Russia's illegal war in Ukraine.
The head of NATO on Tuesday warned that the transfer of North Korean troops to fight for Russia in Ukraine would be what he called a significant escalation.
If they would be sending troops to Ukraine, that would mark a significant escalation. That would really be important.
Secretary General Mark Rutte was in Estonia for meetings with NATO members and said he didn't yet have confirmation Pyongyang had deployed soldiers to assist Moscow's fight. It's the latest warning that North Korea may soon step directly or indirectly into the conflict on the side of Russia. Here's the UK Defence Minister speaking in Parliament on Tuesday.
It is now highly likely that the transfer of hundreds of combat troops from North Korea to Russia has begun.
The Kremlin on Monday declined to directly answer a question on whether North Korean troops were going to fight in Ukraine. A Kremlin spokesman said Moscow's cooperation with Pyongyang was not directed against third countries. It's been more than 2 years since Russian forces stormed into Ukraine in what Moscow called a special military operation. But tenacious defenders armed with Western weaponry drove back the initial onslaught, and what appeared intended to be a quick conquest turned into a long and bloody war. Moscow has been forced to supplement its military with new conscripts to sustain the fight. The latest reports suggest it may now be looking beyond its own borders for soldiers. South Korea's spy agency said last week that North Korea had shipped 1,500 Special Forces troops to Russia's Far East for training at military bases, and that they were likely to be deployed for combat in Ukraine. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused Pyongyang of preparing to send as many as 12,000 soldiers to Russia.
In its failure to overthrow Ukraine's democratically elected government, Russia is seeking to expand the conflict.
The U.S. Deputy Envoy to the United Nations told the Security Council on Monday it had seen reports that North Korean soldiers could soon join the fight.
If true, this marks a dangerous and highly concerning development
The notion of North Korean soldiers fighting a Russian war on European soil prompted this response from the president of Finland.
Well, I think we're just seeing how desperate Russia is. I mean, pose a question to anyone in the world. Would you like to have North Korean soldiers fighting on your side? And the answer is probably no.
South Korea's Deputy National Security Advisor said on Tuesday that Seoul would consider countermeasures, which could mean directly supplying lethal weapons to Kiev in response to closer military ties between Russia and North Korea.
Misinformation has targeted the presidential candidates eyeing the top job at the White House, like Republican nominee Donald Trump. After the assassination attempt in July, false narratives began to emerge, such as a conspiracy theory that the shooting was staged. Take this example. A photograph of Secret Service agents smiling next to Trump immediately after the shooting. But it was doctored. Here's how we know. By searching for the image on Google in a process known as a reverse image search, we see the original photo was taken by the Associated Press. In it, the agents have serious expressions. The narrative that the shooting was staged continued to spread at the Republican National Convention, just days after the incident left his right ear wounded. Here, a video of Trump at the convention is edited to make it look like his left ear was bandaged, suggesting the former president bandaged the wrong ear. But the same moment, at a slightly different angle, on the Republican Party's livestream shows otherwise. We can see the edited video was flipped and played backwards by looking at the order of the people greeting Trump. Edited photos have also appeared, altering Trump's appearance, such as this one. People have shared it online to question if he is fit for office. Fabricated statements attributed to Trump have also been widely shared. Take the supposed post from the presidential candidate's Truth Social network. It says 0 for 2 and was shared online after an apparent second attempt on his life in September. When searching for the post on his account, the message does not appear. And a closer look shows the format is inconsistent with other Truth Social posts. There is no record of him saying this. These examples of misinformation are a reminder to think twice before believing what you see on social media.
Misinformation is targeting the U.S. presidential candidates on the campaign trail. For Democratic nominee Kamala Harris, it frequently aims to make her appear unfit for office. Like this video.
You know, the other folks, Trump and his running mate.
But the video speed was slowed down and was shared online to suggest she was drunk. Here's the original.
The other folks, Trump and his running mate.
So-called birtherism is another false narrative that has followed Harris. Photos have been edited or misattributed to suggest she's not a U.S. citizen eligible to run for president, even though she was born in California. Take this photo. It was used to say she's a male British citizen named Kamal Aroush, but it actually shows Harris as a university student in the 80s.
So this is a photograph when I was joining my sorority during a particularly active week.
Other photos of Harris have been repurposed to falsely portray her as a man. But in reality, the posts were edited from these two images, and it was fairly easy to do. We tried it ourselves on a photo editing app. The same image is generated by clicking the option for gender, then male. And we can see her face has been edited to look like the so-called Kamal Aroush. This birtherism narrative was seen again with online images of a fake Jamaican birth certificate for Harris. The Registrar General's Department of Jamaica, where registered births are stored, said it found no record for Harris. A closer look also shows some discrepancies. Harris was born with the middle name Iyer, but it was later changed to Devi. There is no middle name listed on her supposed Jamaica birth certificate. Another clue that it's fake is that the first letter in the registration number should indicate the parish of birth. According to genealogy records, the parish of St. Anne is represented by the letter G, not S. S is not listed as a district registrar code. Examples of misinformation like these are another reminder to examine the credibility of what you see online.
Zaytona Yacoub grips her deceased son's pink pants in a displacement camp in Sudan. She says it's the only thing left of him she has. He died of malnutrition in April. Yaqub and her 4 children moved from Khartoum in May 2023, shortly after the war between Sudan's armed forces and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces broke out. They moved from life in the capital to this camp in South Kordofan. It's here where 7-year-old Zaki al-Badri died.
I held him up and I found him stiffened. I carried him and ran to my neighbor, and I asked her to have a look at him. She told me, "Your son is gone."
In Khartoum, Zaki would eat eggs and milk for breakfast. But here, there is no food other than flour mixed with water that he couldn't eat for several months until he developed anemia. Yaqub took him from one hospital to another. Doctors advised a blood transfusion.
When the doctors asked me to offer him my blood or if I can buy blood bags for him, he said, No, my mom cannot support us, and she doesn't have enough blood." If you went to the doctor, you would find the reports there. He told them, "No blood will be taken from my mother. My mother needs to take care of her children. No blood will be taken, and I will not live."
Dr. Martin Zachariah visits villages near the camp to check on malnourished children. He says he is often forced to turn starving children away from his rural hospital. More than half of Sudan's 50 million residents suffer from severe hunger. Hundreds are estimated to be dying from starvation and hunger-related disease each day. In August, the world's top hunger monitor, the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification, reported that the war in Sudan and aid restrictions caused famine in at least one location, and that 9 million people are in a food emergency or worse. Sudan's armed forces and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces have blamed each other for holdups in the delivery of international aid. Though the leaders of the two warring groups recently said they are committed to facilitating the flow of aid.